What's up, guys? Ronin Man here. Nice rainy morning. I'm out in the jacuzzi. I want to talk today about the taming of man in modern society. Basically, how modern society is built. The foundation is built on the taming of man. And I'm talking about males here, not mankind. The taming of men. All right. So I want to start with a Chinese idiom, right? And it is killing the chicken to tame the monkey. I've always thought this is one of the best Chinese idioms ever. It is, and you'll see why. This one is gold. You know, there's a lot of stuff you'll read about China and there's like some saying that you're like, that's so obvious. There is some wisdom too. And this one is deep. And actually, I have never ever heard an in-depth analysis of this in my entire life. I speak Mandarin. I've never heard it. That's what's interesting. If anybody has one, please put it in the comment box. I'd love to hear it. Doesn't matter if it's in Mandarin or English, is fine. All right. So the saying is, like I said, killing the chickens to tame the monkey, right? 杀鸡儆猴. Okay, that's in Mandarin, right? So the idea is this. It goes back to a story of a street performer. And it's near and dear to my heart because when I went to China in 1989, there was a lot of these street performers and they had monkeys. So you don't see it anymore. You just don't see it. You got to be in the poorest part of China. And even today it's frowned upon because times have changed, animal welfare. But in 1989, I will tell you, it was a common sight. And here's what it was. You would see a street performer. Well, actually, I'll just tell you my experience. Okay, so I was in Chengdu, I don't know where, somewhere down in there in Sichuan province. And I was at a temple, and I have a picture of it. It's a great picture, actually. It's one of my few pictures of China, because I lost all my photographs of around the world, China and Japan. But this one I got from a friend of mine who I contacted in the last year. A Swedish guy that I was with on the trip. Kind of loosely, I was running into him over and over. We took the Trans-Siberian together and ended up becoming good friends. And we were kind of on the same tourist route. So we'd see each other in different cities, even though we weren't technically traveling together. We'd see each other over and over. And anyway, we became friends. He's on my Facebook, thank God. And I was able to get a few pictures of myself in China. And this is one of the golden ones. And it's me with what I thought was very cool at the time, my Levi jacket. And there's a monkey on my back. And I have this huge smile on my face. And the reason why is because I was so shocked. Because I was standing at this temple. And next thing I know, there's this I look on my shoulder. And it was like just fur. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And also the monkey had long nails. Or whatever they're called. And it was going into my skin through the Levi jacket. And, I was like, what? I was like focused on the temple. I was probably tired. I was always tired on that trip. It was so difficult to travel in China at the time. It was incredibly difficult. You can't even imagine, unless you did it, how difficult it was to travel, just to go city to city in China back then. Anyway, so I was there, and so then I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And then all of a sudden I realized, okay, I stopped and I looked, and then I realized there was like a wild animal on my fucking shoulder. And then everybody was laughing around me. And I was like, oh, and then I realized it was like a gag, basically. So what they would do is they would throw these street performer guys. They actually were not street performers. That's bullshit. The story is always told that way in Chinese, but it's not. They're just basically evil animal abusers. That's what they were. They really were. And I heard like some modern Chinese saying this guy was mean-hearted and stuff. I'm telling you, they were all like that. These guys were evil. And so I say the same thing with the elephant trainers in Thailand. The old ones, they were all fucking evil. Oh yeah. You just didn't catch them when you were like a tourist. You just didn't know. Westerners didn't see them beating the shit out of the animals. They were fucking evil. To get those animals to do that kind of stuff, it was way worse than any circus. Way fucking worse. And I saw it. I'm not talking out of my ass here. I saw it. So anyway, I realized that something's going on because everybody's laughing. So then I kind of relaxed, and then he handed me a Polaroid. And what had happened is he had put it on my shoulder, of course, and he had taken a picture when I had that huge smile on my face. And I treasured that picture because it's one of my few pictures of China. And I have so many memories when I look at that picture. I mean, just smells of China. Like, China used to always have this smell of coal. Everywhere you went, coal was in your nose. When you got sick, your nose, like black soot would come out. Because everybody used coal everywhere. When I go back to China, like everybody was cooking with coal, using heat with coal. Every little store you went in had like coal burning. There was coal plants. It was coal, baby. Everything was coal. And the smell of coal, if you live in a coal mining town, if anybody does, tell me about what that memory is, because it is a really unusual smell. You don't smell it anywhere else, really. Coal smell. And I remember when I went back to China, in like, let's see, when was it? I was trying to sell a Chinese company. It was a drug company, animal drug company, and I was trying to sell it to Bayer, the German conglomerate. So I was over there meeting like the vice president of Bayer and a bunch of all the executives from the company. We were over there doing a look-see thing. They were looking at it, checking out. We went to the factory and stuff. It was a cool project. It was a totally cool project, and I had done it all myself, so it was fucking awesome. I was super proud of myself. And it was kind of like like in business, when you do something big, it's like you're like a star for a moment. Everybody kisses your ass. And then the minute you're not doing that, you're like out, anyway. This is one of those peaks, right? So I got all these executives. It was all my doing. It was my fucking cold calling. And it was amazing. And I felt great. So here I am. And they put me up in a real nice hotel. I can't remember what it was, but some nice hotel in Beijing. And so I was sitting in there in my room and opened the window in the morning. I just arrived at night, got there, opened the window, and I remember opening the window and there was no coal smell. And what year was it? It was probably 2002, maybe. It was about 2002, maybe 2003. And there was no coal smell. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I thought, because then all of the memories came back of the coal, and I was like, oh my, it was inexorably tied in my mind to coal. China was. The smell of coal in China and the memories were all connected. You ever have something like that where there's like a smell or maybe a song that just connects it? When it's not there, you're like, what? I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, this isn't... My first reaction is, this isn't China. I still kind of feel that, actually. In a small part of my brain is still like, this ain't China anymore. Because there ain't no coal, baby. There ain't no coal smell, It was part of it was a whole rigmarole of coal. I got a million coal stories. I tried to stay warm with burning coal in my bicycle basket and trying to take it back to my hotel room. Just coal mines, coal, rich coal guys. It was coal trucks, coal freighters. Coal was a huge piles of coal everywhere. It was a huge part of everything. And also, I like coal, actually, from that period. It's amazing. You guys ever seen coal burn? It's amazing because it's like a bunch of rocks and burning and making your food. It's really, it sounds dumb. Like you think, oh, well, that's simple, right? But when you see it, you're like, what in the fuck? It's like rocks burning, and it's a really nice heat too. People say it's dirty, and it is dirty in comparison to some other things. But if you also look at it when you're standing there and you're burning it, right? Just one little like basket of coal. It doesn't seem dirty. It's not like it's not like a fire. What do you call it? Like a campfire where there's a lot of smoke coming up. You can't really see the smoke. The heat is really hot. It's like a nice heat. Coal's pretty fucking cool, actually. If they could ever come out with a really clean way to burn coal, I'd definitely be pro on that. But I think they might not be able to do it because the problem is there's too many of them, right? It's not like there's one. It's kind of like you can have one guy in the wilderness doing stuff, but if you have everybody doing it, then it ruins the wilderness. It's that kind of thing. But anyway, so back to the monkey. So the monkey and the chicken, right? So the monkey was forced to be a performer, okay? Absolutely forced. Monkeys are super smart, and they don't like to do what they don't want to do. They're very mischievous. They want something, they're going to grab it. If you're ever around monkeys, they're going to grab your shit, climb up a tree. They're a pain in the ass. Okay, monkeys, okay, I do not want to like, what do you call it? Romanticize monkeys. Because I've had a lot of experience with monkeys. I could do a whole episode on monkeys, actually. My experience in Asia with monkeys. I have a ton of experience in there. All the stories are really interesting, actually, because they're just my unique experiences. And I was always getting in the middle of nowhere, climbing mountains by myself, running into monkeys. And then also the tourist areas back then. There was very few tourists, but when you were there and you saw it, it was stuff you just never see again. It really is. It's lost in the sands of time. It's the China that was, and there was many China that was. I'm talking about the China tourism, the things they did for tourists back then, and that they did for rich Chinese. They don't do anymore. So anyway, the deal was the monkeys. They fucking do not want to perform. Okay, the monkeys, 100%. If you know anything about monkeys, the last thing they want to do is what you tell them to do. They do not want to do that. So the only way you can get them to do something is you gotta be brutal. Okay, that's why these guys were brutal. They had to be, in order to get the monkey to perform the same shit over. It had to be brutal, and it was. So these guys were so brutal. I hated these guys because I'm not an animal rights guy. Okay, I'm not. And the same thing, I'm not a global warming guy. But at the same time, I love the environment. I love clean air, which is funny talking about coal. But I love clean air. I love to make my fucking, you guys probably know, whenever I camp, I make it better than when I left. It was Boy Scout time. And I don't understand why you can't be one or the other anymore. You can't love the environment and then not believe some kind of religion. Then if you don't believe a religion today, you are demonized. Okay, you are fucked. Okay, you publicly, there's no way, right? And that's getting into the meaning of this episode, right? How to be free man, right? And how they tame man. And the reason why I'm saying why they tame man, how they tame man, and how you are tamed, is because I want you to consider, maybe for the first time, what is going on, how you're being used. And if you want to be used in that way, okay, I want to kind of give you a way of looking at yourself right now, and that you can make a decision based on that. So there is a very serious side to this, and I think it's very warranted. I'm not an overly serious guy. I'm talking, this is very serious for you. Because the monkey, okay, so let me get into the 下鸡敬猴, right? That deal right there is, so the monkey didn't do what the guy said, okay? And they say it was a cantankerous monkey and all that. All of them are, okay? They don't want to do it. That's why. They don't want to be street performers. None of them, okay? No, there is no monkey who volunteers for this, ever, okay? You got to force them. That's the only way these basically motherfuckers got them to do the stuff they did. And I, like I said, not a fan. Not a fan of animal abuse. I've seen it all around the world. Believe me, I've seen it way more than anybody who stayed in the West, okay? You can't imagine, just as a side note, if you went to the third world in the 80s and 90s, you can't imagine what I saw, okay? You just can't. And how much it affects you, you know what I mean? So, like, that's the funny thing, is I agree with so many things. And that's the funny thing. This episode is deep, okay? Because often, I just want to give you a little spoiler. As a man, by being free, everyone's going to hate you and try to destroy you, basically. But the funny thing is, many times what happens is your beliefs actually turn out to be similar to what society wanted you to believe in the first place. The only difference is, well, there's a lot of differences, but is that you chose them based on logic and your own feelings and the way you look at the world, right? Not forced to do. So you're not like a monkey. It's not an exact analogy, but let's get into it. Okay. So the guy, what he did is the monkey wouldn't do what he wanted. So he got the chicken. Right? He's like, okay, I got to do something to get this monkey. He couldn't do anything to get the monkey. He had like a gong and he'd bang it, trying to scare the monkey. He wouldn't do anything. Monkey didn't give a shit, right? So then he decides, okay, I'll get a chicken and I'll scare the chicken. And then that will hopefully, scare the monkey, right? So he did the same thing. He got the chicken, and he said, hey, okay, chicken, do this. Yeah, and chicken knows, so he gets the gong, starts gonging. Chicken gets scared. Chicken gets frozen, right? But the monkeys are smart. Monkey didn't give a shit. He's like, okay, frozen chicken. He's like, the chicken's an idiot. He's frozen, whatever. So then he says, the evil guy is like, okay, I got to do something more serious to get this monkey in line here. So he gets a big old Chinese cleaver. They got these big old cleavers, and they're great for cooking, by the way. You just need a fucking cleaver in life. I'm serious. A cleaver will do so much for you. A Chinese cleaver. They're fucking awesome. You don't need a lot of knives. That's one thing. The Germans, they're fucked. They got a million knives for everything. You guys, it's stupid. Get one really good cleaver. And make sure you can handle it. Don't get too big. You know what I mean? Get something that's handy, but it's like big enough to go through a bone. It's big enough to cut stuff. It's like a very good knife, a quality knife, like a good Chinese knife or a quality Japanese knife. Japanese knives are great. You can get a Japanese knife I got a fantastic knife for like $30 once at Tsukiji Fish Market. And it's the kind that gets rusty, by the way. So a really cheap quality knife is going to rust, okay? It's just the way it is. It's not going to be shiny. You're going to have to keep sharpening. But it's worth it. Oh, it's totally fucking worth it. You can oil it up and it won't rust. It's like kind of like a cast iron pot. It's totally worth it. Pain in the ass, totally worth it. You can use it for everything. Almost everything, because they're actually very delicate. You can use a cleaver. You can really do shit with a fucking cleaver, man. Chinese cleaver. They're awesome. That's one thing. Great advice. Don't get a shit ton of knives. Get one really quality Japanese cleaver. I recommend a Japanese one because it's hard to pick a good Chinese one. I'm sure there's a good brand out there somewhere. The Japanese brands, there's some really quality Japanese brands. And you got to do your research, okay? Because there's going to be somebody that's going to be doing good marketing these days. Back in the day, Japanese could not do marketing. And you'd get a really quality knife super cheap. Now they kind of start to know their value of homemade things in Japan. But you can still outsmart them and find one. Because most people don't want it. Most people don't want a knife you have to oil up. But it's worth it. Okay. So anyway, he takes the cleaver, gets the old cleaver out there, bam, chops the chicken's head off. And from that day on in the story, and I'm sure it was a true story. I don't think this is a story at all. I think this is like I think it was a tactic that they all did. Because it worked. Chinese are very practical. That's one thing I love about China. They're fucking practical, man. And Indians too. Indians and Chinese are practical. They come to Silicon Valley, they just clean up because they're so practical. Americans have lost that. It's kind of it's shocking to me because it's sad to me to see men that are not practical. You can learn a lot from Indian guys and Chinese guys. That's one really, how to be practical and solve problems on the fucking street. How to tie something, to hold something, to do something, I'm telling you, you can learn something. There's a lot to be learned from third world guys who grew up in the third world. They got a lot of shit going on. I love it. I learned a ton. And I'm grateful too. It toughens you up too, by the way. Just that way of thinking, you know what I mean? That practical way of thinking, right? It's a big part. That's the thing. People say, well, who's Ronin Man? Is he a Western guy? Is he an Eastern guy? Is he a traveler? It's a mix. It's a mix. It's a complex picking up of valuable tools that kind of like a video game where you're just going through this you're going through this journey, and as you go, there's like a tool, you pick it up and you use it. It's now part of you. That tool, that Chinese, Japanese cleaver is part of me. I tell you right now, fuck German knives. Fuck German knives. You want a Japanese knife, big time. The way they make it's different. It's so different. Watch a video on Japanese knife making and sword making, and you'll just understand. It's a different thing. It's a different technology. I'm not saying like one flag is better than the other. I'm not talking out of my ass here. They're just better. And if you're German, go get one and tell me. I'm telling you. I'm sure there's good knives if you spend $1 zillion, and they're going to be, the German ones are probably going to look better and everything in your house. You don't even fucking, anyway. Okay. Yeah. Just get one $20 fucking solid knife that can go through a fucking bone, and your trusty tool. That's what you need, man, to cook. To cook. That's what you need. That's all you need. One of the few things, a chopping board, right? Some kind of fucking, you can even take, I had a birch table that I bought it had a vise on it. I bought it at Costco in Japan. It was thick. Not birch, sorry, maple. And I bought it it had a vice grip. It was for garages. And I used that as my kitchen table. It was fucking great, dude. It was cheap as piss, and it was solid. It had a vice grip too. So I could put a bone in there or whatever and saw it. It was useful, man. It was a perfect kitchen table for me. I thought it was hilarious too. And it was cheap, super fucking cheap and super fucking tough. That and a Chinese cleaver, and you got yourself you got a great place to cook right there. Anyway, so there's some good cooking tips. Those are hardcore tips. They work, man. That is a fucking, I think it's gold. People waste so much time doing shit in this life. I can't believe how many pussy guys are around here. I'm serious. Like every little thing, they're just like, I need the little this and that to do everything. And it's like just fuck, you're going to be a slave if you need all that shit, man. You got to figure out how to do it. I'm not saying the stuff's not, I understand the value of specialized items, man. I understand. It's nice to have them once in a while. It's nice to know how to use them. It's nice to know the value. But in real life, you want to be a slave, just get into all that shit. And next thing you know, you're going to be slaving away like the monkey. Okay, so the taming of man, right? What does this have to do with us? Men don't want to be tamed like monkeys. Men do not and never have wanted to be tamed. We didn't ask for this society that is around us today. This was not our doing. This was all created by men, but it was at the behest of women. It was what women wanted. Women wanted convenience. They wanted safety. They wanted security. They wanted light and heat and all these things. They wanted it easy and reliable. And men, they were up for the task. Men were up for the task. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm not saying society's a joke. I'm not saying go back to the stone. That's the thing about me. It's like you're going to think I'm saying so many fucking things that you're going to be, wait a second, he's not saying that. Okay? So, society, whatever, it's here, we're here. Okay? I do not think, going in a shed and being the Unabomber is the answer. And I'm telling you, a lot of MGTOW creators, that's their whole thing. Go do it and tell me how much your life improves, how much you improve your life, because you improve when you're forced to improve, okay? That's the thing about men. It sucks. See, we want freedom, but freedom often leads us to just gambling and women and just laying around drunk. It's not necessarily, you know what I mean? It's a mix. Man, the natural free man, he can get into some trouble, okay? You know what I'm saying? So what is really the best for men? What is really the way to look at this whole fucking thing? Okay, so society basically, let's get into society. Society is not in your best interest. They don't have your best interest in mind. Okay, they look at you like the monkey. Okay, now you look at someone like Kyrie Irving right now. He's a professional basketball player. Now, Kyrie Irving, he posted a documentary on his Twitter. I don't remember what he said. I don't even remember the original quote because it's not really that important. He basically, the main thing is he transgressed some rules, okay? And he is now getting hammered, okay? Now, I didn't see the documentary. I did not see it. And I have no interest in seeing it. And I have no interest actually in his original quote because it's so common. I'm looking at it from a helicopter view. Okay, there's a man saying something. Now, whether he's right or wrong is another thing. Okay, let's separate that for the moment. Let's look at it from the helicopter view. You can't see this from a helicopter. What you see is a man using social media account and getting fucking hammered by everybody. Okay, now, let's look a little deeper into it. The documentary posted is a bestseller on Amazon. Okay, so it's not, bestsellers bullshit these days. There's a lot of ways to cheat the bestseller thing on Amazon. There is many ways. And you can cheat the reviews. I'm not saying it like actually is a big seller. I don't know about that. Because Amazon's got so many ways to cheat. It's like, I was going to write a book, so I went deep into the Amazon, into the ratings, and I realized I didn't even want to play in that playground because there's so many scammers. So I don't know what the fuck that means. All I know is it's still there. The key point is it's still on Amazon, that documentary. And so a guy posts it, and all of a sudden he is demonized. Now the guy who made it, no one's asking about that. The people who reviewed it, no one's asking about that. Amazon, no one's calling Jeff Bezos out. Now isn't that interesting? Okay, isn't that interesting? Is a guy who had nothing to do with the documentary, okay, he didn't make it, as far as I know, he didn't finance it or have anything to do with it. All he did was like post a link and make some comment. And again, I'm not endorsing this guy. Fuck, I don't like Kyrie Irving, to be honest. And I'll tell you why later. I don't like the guy. Personally, I never liked the guy. Okay. Shaji Jinho, right? Okay. So, what's really going on here? What's going on from a helicopter view? What's going on is this man is being dismantled. Okay? And it's kind of interesting to me because when the kind of canceling movement started, the guys that were canceled were always white males. And now you're seeing people being canceled that are not white males. And that is interesting for me. Because I think a lot of people cheered on the canceling of guys. I'm not endorsing what these different guys did. Okay, but I'm looking at it, what's going on here with the Shaji Jinho perspective. Okay? What's going on is that we are all fucking monkeys performing in modern society. We are running around doing many things that we don't want to do. Okay? We are doing many things we don't want to do. And, right? And there's something in man that is very unhappy about it. Modern man is not happy about biting his tongue, about being so socialized, about being so kept cooped up and so lacking so many freedoms. Man doesn't fucking like it. Man really wants to say what he thinks, even if it's wrong. Man strives, man dreams. We want freedom. We look at the birds, that song Free Bird, and we look up there and we're like, I want freedom. I want freedom. Now, of course, like I said, it's a double-edged sword, okay? Because a lot of free men end up fucking things up and don't do well. And it could be argued, if you asked them, that they would say, I regret what I did. That's the complicated part, okay? But does that negate the desire for freedom? Does it mean one way or the other? Does it mean that you should be just a fucking monkey happy, doing what society wants, scared shitless of getting killed? Okay? Because that's what they're doing to us. That is what they're doing. Shaji Jinho is not a fucking joke. They are terrifying man today. Okay? And they're saying, hey, you go against the narrative and you're going to get attacked by everybody. And the thing is what's funny is I watched a what is it, one of those sports commentaries, and they were like talking about it, but it was so blue pill they couldn't even see from a red pill perspective what's really okay. Here's the deal. they were saying, oh, he has every right to say what he wants. He can tweet whatever he wants, but he doesn't have a right to work in the NBA and this and that. He has a right to tweet. Are you kidding me? Tell that to fucking the ex-president. Does he have a right to tweet? Hell, you don't have a right to tweet. You don't have a right to do. It is, he has not been canceled yet. That guy's getting paid, baby. He's getting a couple days off without pay for these 5 games or whatever. But that guy's getting paid. And he's going to get paid again. Everyone says no one's going to hire him. I bet you someone's going to hire him. Now, let's say from his perspective. Okay, so the monkey said what he thought. Okay? And again, the monkey is man. Free man. Okay? Don't get misconstrued. The monkey is us. We are the monkey. Man is the monkey, okay? Now, and there's a great book, the fifth chimpanzee? That's a great book. I think it's the 4th chimpanzee, the 5th chimpanzee, the 3rd I don't remember. The something chimpanzee, right? Great book. And I don't remember the title, but fucking great book. And we are actually monkeys, right? We are an evolved monkey. Now, some people, just side note, that I tend to put some people think we evolved from monkeys into sea creatures. And that's how we separate ourselves from monkeys. Is we just, side note here, a lot of evolutionary biologists think that monkeys needed more nutrition, more food. They started going into the ocean, getting like shellfish, seaweed, stuff like that, getting extreme nutrition. That nutrition is way better for building man's body than leaves and berries, right? And seeds and berries and leaves. So those creatures that went into the sea and ended up swimming and becoming sea creatures and then evolving back out of the sea, they were the ones, their brains developed a frontal cortex. Okay, so basically developed the mammalian brain. That developed, sorry, I'm using these words without even thinking. I'm not, this was not about that. Okay, sorry if I used the wrong type. Basically, that's why humans are so much smarter than monkeys, is because a lot of people believe, and I believe right now, until it's disproven. I don't believe, there's no religions for me. It's like, okay, that's what I think right now because that makes the most sense to me. And if someone disproves it, I'm happy. Okay. But we are monkeys, right? Either way. Okay. So society is terrified of man not doing, of kind of like, I think it's a general fear they have of men. It's just a general fear of masculinity that society has. And this is something that women never have to deal with. There's no fear. There's no real fear. There's a fear of female evil, right? There is. And that's why all the Disney stories and the old stories are about that. That comes up. But there's a general fear of masculinity, of the strength and the power and the unpredictability of high testosterone males. And there always has been. It's not a specific fear, like a fear of this one specific thing. It's just kind of a general fear, I believe. And so society doesn't really know what they want, okay? But they're still scared of males. And that's us. That's us. You ever walk down a street and some girl keeps looking back and you're just fucking walking somewhere? By the way, this is one of coming back to America, it's one of my biggest pet peeves. This doesn't happen to me in Asia. When people turn around, they never think bad things. They're always like, oh, tourists, whatever, walking down the street. Here, I have women, I'll be walking somewhere and some woman will just come in front of me, like just turn from a road in front of me. And then all of a sudden she starts looking back and then she turns and then I'm turning because it's the same road I'm on, right? And then she looks back and looks back and looks back. And there's nothing you can do. They keep looking at you like some kind of criminal. You're like, you can cross the street and speed up and until you're like out of their sight, you're basically criminal till proven guilty. And all you're doing is walking. You know what I mean? I fucking hate that. That's my biggest pet peeve in America. Happens all the time because I walk a lot. So I see this more than the average person. And it's like, dude, it's just, they got to read that book, The Gift of Fear. It's just like, it's just so dumb because you're creating. It's an aggressive thing to distrust men. It's society is aggressively attacking us. That's what that is. You think that's like, oh, her protecting herself? No, it's not. It's the same thing, and I talked about it before. It's the same thing in the 60s when they would distrust minorities when they walked in their stores. It is an active, passive-aggressive attack. And you only know it when it happens to you and you understand it. You're like, fuck this. I ain't doing nothing wrong. Well, you know what I mean? Like, it makes you like, ugh. It's an attack. That's the reason why it makes you like that is because it is an attack. Okay? It's an attack on you. And then, but it's never taken responsibility for. It's always like, well, if you feel that way, then you are what they thought you were. You know, it's like, it's a catch-22 for men. It really is. It's like, we're going to attack you, but you got to shut the fuck up and don't have any emotional reaction to it. And nothing, you're not allowed to complain about it. You're not allowed to be upset about it. Because if you do, that means that you are exactly the man that we were afraid of. So shut up. Just shut up. And I don't give a shit how you feel. That's society to men today. Okay? And it's because of a fear that they have of men. So what do you do? And where do you go? And this is a key part. So when you do go and you break the rules, okay, and you decide that, hey, I'm going to say what I want, they're gonna totally attack you and destroy you. And when I say destroy, they can't destroy you on the inside, but they can debank you. They can take you off all kinds of platforms. They can get you fired. They can do some evil things. Very vindictive. I got a friend, and he's a very good friend, and I'm telling you the truth. He's one of the very first guys that was Me Too'd. He's a good friend of mine. And reporters flew to his house in Switzerland and scared his family. Okay, the guy's originally from Switzerland. A lot of people don't know that, this guy. Anyway, and they just attacked his family. His sister. It was insane. If he wrote a book about this, it would be so scary. It would be so scary. This guy was Me Too way worse than you think. And the attacks and the effect, he was suicidal. I was there for him too. I was fucking there for him to not kill himself. You guys, that's the fucking person. That's the way I am. I see this shit. It drives me insane. Because here's the thing about all this fear of men. Men are complex creatures, so don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, okay, I want to think the way I want to think, and I don't want fucking anybody control. I am not going to be your monkey, okay? But here's the funny thing. At the end of the day, when you go to a job and put on a uniform or whatever the fuck they want you to wear as a uniform, you are your monkey, right? You're a performing monkey that's limited rights, okay? And I've done that many times in my life. I've worked for people. You guys, this is one thing Sean was telling me. I got to tell you guys more. Some of you young guys, you think, I never worked. He runs around. He cruises around the world. That's my goal. I work my fucking ass off, guys. I worked in a sawmill in Sweden. You know how hard that is? Oh my God. I was fucking lifting logs, and the guy who used the machine that I was using in front of me, he lost, I think, 3 fingers while he was using the machine. And no one had used it until me. And I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. I work my ass off. I do. I work for companies. I built my own company. And in the end, your own company is kind of like an employee at the end of the day. It really is. It's not that different. It's a little different, but it's not that different. You're always working for somebody. You always got a client. There's always things telling you what to do. It is complex and it's better and all that, but it's not what people say. Okay, and now I work my fucking balls off. I work my ass off in college at Leo's Stereo. I fucking worked my ass off at the stereo store. And when I finished Leo's, I got a job at Pfizer. The last thing I did before I went around the world as a copier for their They had a sub-branch called Shiley. They had to take over Shiley, and they had heart valves that were failing, and then they were hiring people as copiers, basically using a copy machine for a whole warehouse. And they had like all these lawyers. It was a big thing, and it was cool. And you gotta work overtime, triple time. My friend worked 120 hours in a week. I don't remember, I think 114 was the most I ever worked. But I worked my fucking ass off for them. I was teacher of the year in university, at the university I taught at. That was not by mistake, guys. I worked hard. I slaved away, man. And I'm telling you this so that you know. A lot of guys don't know. They're like, oh, he's so lucky. You know, I work my ass off. I always work my ass off. When I do something, I do it seriously. It's just the way I'm built. And when I worked as a laborer, as a concrete laborer in Santa Cruz, and when I worked in landscaping in Santa Cruz for 2 different guys, I worked my fucking balls off. I just met a guy in the gym, and I was fucking working my balls off in the gym. And his name is Matt, and Concrete Matt, he came up to me, and he was joking around. He's like, using that machine? And I was like, oh, Matt, no way. And he's like, man, he's like, I saw you work. He's like, man, you work fucking hard. He goes, no one works like that anymore. He goes, that was cool to see, man. He goes, I remember white guys used to work like that. He was an older guy, you know. And he's like, I remember that, man. We used to fucking work our balls off. He goes, today everybody's a professional laborer. They don't really work that hard. It's like people are smart now, basically. They kind of manage their time and they're careful. And you guys, when you talk about men doing manual labor, think again, too. A lot of guys doing manual labor are pussies today. I'm serious. I'm not kidding around. Look at their bodies. You just take one look at them and you know they're not working that hard. They're overweight. They're kind of driving trucks. There's a lot of fake hard-working men these days. I like working hard. I just like it. I get into it. I fucking dig it. I don't do it all the time. So it's not like I'm like a monkey who will work for everybody else on demand. But I love working hard. I just like it. You know what I mean? My relatives in Finland, I went to Finland to meet my relatives. And my one of my relatives, I woke up in the morning, there's fucking boots outside my door. Big old boots. And they fit me. And I was like, oh, I guess he wants me to wear these. So I put them on. And he like gives me a big breakfast. He couldn't speak any English at all. And he's like, I'm like, I guess I'm working today. And I put on, he like pointed at my shittiest, I think he gave me some shitty clothes to wear. So we went out and there was a river that had a bend around his house. And he saw that I was strong because I had just finished working in the sawmill back then. And we and him all day threw rocks to buttress the corner of that river so that it wouldn't overflow in the winter. And I threw rocks like a motherfucker all day because I knew a lot of Europeans, and you guys in Europe, you know, right? You don't use the word Europe, you guys. I know that too, by the way. I'm just using it for the Westerners. I mean, the North Americans. Europeans, right? I say that jokingly. You know that a lot of guys who say they're Italian Americans and they're Swedish Americans, and you see them come over and they're total pussies. You're like, get off your ass and do some shit. And they're like, I'm half this and all. It's like, get off your ass, man. You know, there's a lot of fake. Anyway, okay. So I did that for him, and I, you know, I knew I had been overseas enough, even at the time, to know that a lot of guys thought that Americans were weak at the time. This is 89. And they thought we were wimpy. And I was like, I'm going to disprove this. And that we're not men of our words and stuff. There was a lot. It came from Hollywood, guys. It came from Hollywood. I can't really blame the Europeans back then. It came from Hollywood. They thought we were all a bunch of pussies at the time. And I was like, I'm going to disprove this on every fucking front, right? So one of the fronts was working hard. And I fucking worked my balls off, man. I kicked everybody's ass throwing rocks that day. At the end of the day, they gave me a big meal, and they looked at me, and they're like, the Finnish blood is safe. You know, I could tell. They were like, the Finnish blood is safe. Is safe. And it wasn't really, you know... And there's some truth to that, you know, with me. But anyway, I want to do proud. I want to do right. I want to work hard. I want to do it, man. But I don't want to be a fucking monkey for a mindless monkey for somebody, okay? That's the care. That's the trick of the fucking thing there, right? So society is scared of you and will terrify you and is terrifying you right now, okay? That's the first thing you have to look around you and realize this is no joke, okay? They're trying to terrify you. Shaji Jinho. That's what's going on. Shaji Jinho. They're fucking like, they're killing the chickens around you, trying to terrify you. And they're acting like nothing's happening. But that's what they're doing. They want you to be terrified so that you'll do whatever it takes. And a lot of guys, here's the thing. This is so unique about my message. So many guys who are like me. Okay, now I have been canceled. And I've been canceled in a big way. A couple of times, and very painful, I will add. Not many guys could take it. I will tell you that. I will tell you this. That when it's all said and done for me, I forgive everybody. And the reason is because I know how scared everybody is. And also I know that I'm one of those guys that can take it. I can take anything. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I'm built. Until the day I die, fuck you, I can take it, man. And I can get through it. And that's the way I am. And I will be till the day I'm dead. Okay? So this does not jinko this guy. It doesn't, and it won't. Okay? I will not do your bidding. Okay? You put comments, oh, you changed the Ronin, you gotta do this now. Oh, I'm gonna sit here and fucking listen to you and how I should fucking be. Is that what you really fucking want? Is that what you want as a content creator? Get real, baby. Get real. I am who I am. And I change and I go through the shit I go through. And I make the mistakes I do. Okay? And that's the way it is. And that's the way it's going to be. All right? So, I think that, and at the end of the day, see, this is the thing. People are so afraid of man doing what he wants. But the funny thing is, what they don't understand, okay, is that man is good. And man is loving. See, what happens to most guys like me, who get canceled, who get fucked over, who, and I don't even want to say what happened. It's so bad, you won't even believe it. Okay. I will say this one thing. Most guys who went through what I went through would kill themselves. Straight up. And that's statistical. Okay? I can't get into details for a bunch of reasons. Okay? I'll just tell you that. Okay. Now that I have this freedom, now that I've become the man that I am through this process, okay? I wasn't this man growing up. It was the being canceled. It was fighting the demons. It was being attacked. It was realizing this shit. It was being destroyed and rebuilding and discovering my deepest resources, okay? That's what made me who I am, okay? It wasn't the way I was born. It wasn't being a man. It wasn't deciding some fucking title on MGTOW, like being a MGTOW, being a... none of that shit. This is deep, deep fucking resource shit here. And it comes from being challenged and almost killed. It really does. You got it. To really get strong, you got to be. How the fuck are you going to rise to a higher level if you're not challenged? Most guys, the reason why they don't move, they don't change, is they don't fucking have to. So if you don't have to, God bless you. You're not going to get it, but hey, whatever. Life's going to be easy for you. Okay, fine. Everybody's got their different fucking road. I'm telling you my road for whatever it can benefit you. Okay? So, at the end of the day, I discovered when I had the chance to be the guy, to become the man that everybody was afraid of. Okay? I realized I'm not that. And that's the complex thing. Society's so scared of you, they're going to cancel, they're going to destroy you, they're going to take everything away. And then they say, oh, now they know what's next, is you're going to retaliate. See? And then they know they got you, because then you are what they say. It works perfectly, you fall into it. And then you are finally crushed once and for all as a man. Your life is crushed. You're out of the game. And what I realized is love filled my heart, for lack of a better term at the end. Because it's almost like Jesus forgive them for they know not what they do. It's like all this madness, all this fear of me, fear of men, is unwarranted. I am a loving guy who has so much love to give. And at the same time, I can handle it. I'm ready for another one. It ain't all roses, baby. It ain't all roses. At the end of the day, man, you got to decide if you're up for the task of going against society. It is a very big task, and it is very vindictive and very mean and very unfair. Because they got to keep people in line, man. Shaji Jin Ho, baby. It's what's going on. That's what's going on, baby. And they will sacrifice you to teach all the other people, all the other monkeys, to teach them, to keep them in line, because they're terrified. So the thing is, the thing is, it's the opposite of the Disney movie. At the end, I think, and I can't say this is going to be your choice, because some guys choose to go the revenge route. I think at the end of the day is you become a wise man. A wise, loving man who sees it all. And I think that's the ultimate goal, is to see the foolishness. And I think when you see how mean society is and how unfair and vindictive, when you really see it, but you're not sour grapes, and you weren't crushed by it. Okay, that's the key thing, right? Neither one. You're still standing and smiling because you made it. And you look at them and you know there's evil in their hearts. And they know they're fucking wrong. Because inside of other people, no one challenges the system. No one beats the system. I beat the system. That's what I'm talking about, unblackmailable. The ultimate is you beat the fucking system. All right? That's the goal. All right. That's all I got to say on that.